Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of the Sam Hossack Media Podcast. Two special guests today, so we'll get right into it. Our first guest just completed her first season with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. She was a three-sport athlete in high school and won a gold medal with Team USA at the Under-18 Women's World Championships. Please welcome to the show, Audrey Wethington.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk with you.
Absolutely. And our next guest just completed her second season with the Gophers. WCHA Rookie of the Year, WCHA Rookie Team Honoree, and won gold medals in 3 consecutive years at the Under-18s. Not a big deal. Please welcome to the show, Madeline Wethington.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat.
Absolutely, and we'll jump right into here. Your high school days at Blake. Take us back to attending Blake. You both were multi-sport athletes, so what kind of led to the decision of playing multiple sports, and how did it go for both of you?
Yeah, we always grew up just playing a lot of different sports. Our parents put us into everything from lacrosse to hockey to water skiing to literally everything. I think that just playing high school sports or any sports in general is super important just to develop different skills. Like we played golf in high school, and Mal and I were super competitive with each other, but it worked a lot on our mental skills. And I think golf is just one of those sports that you can only control yourself. No one can control anything. For your, I guess, like hockey, like you have teammates around you, but it's really just yourself when you're out on the course. So I feel like that has really helped us develop resiliency. And then also I played soccer. My mom played soccer for a little bit, and that's just fun. I don't know. I always really enjoyed playing soccer and just going to play with different friends, and playing with Madeline's been super fun.
Yeah, Audrey, do you want to tell the story of you playing soccer growing up with Grandma?
Oh, yeah. So my grandma would always come to our games, and she'd always say before the game, I would get $1 for each goal I scored. And so this was probably like when I was like maybe 5 or 6. And so I would score a lot of goals. So every single time I ran past her, I just run past her. I go like keeping track, like 1, 2, 3, making sure she's keeping track of how many goals I had, so that she'd pay up at the end. So I think that was kind of funny. My grandma always tells me that, but I honestly don't remember doing that, but I can definitely see myself doing that, just making sure she's paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's where the competitive side of both of us stem from, is just sports and being able to play together throughout our youth, and every sport that we played in was something that drove us to where we are today. And I think the reason why I chose hockey was ultimately because it was our favorite sport. We just enjoyed it so much, and also having the family background of hockey, and being raised in a family that literally talks hockey at the dinner table instead of politics or something like that, was very special. So getting the opportunity to continue to play hockey at the University of Minnesota was a dream come true for the both of us, and so I think it was an easy decision.
Now, Maddie, you ended up winning 3 state championships, one with Audrey. So take us through the first 2, and then we'll kind of let Audrey speak on the third.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to make the Blake varsity team as a 7th grader, and that was back in 2013-14. And so I was pretty young, and sometimes I kind of like don't remember it because it was so long ago. But we had a really fun season, got to the championship. We were down by 2 goals and then ended up coming back and winning 3-2. And so that was really fun. And then my 8th grade year, we lost in the state championship game. So I remember like my 9th grade year was a really fun year because we were all so motivated to go back to the tournament and win it. And so getting that opportunity to kind of get almost revenge a little bit, and just come together as a team and play for the seniors before that ended up losing their last game was really special. And then my my sophomore year, Audrey was on the team as a freshman, and that was one of the funnest years that I've had in hockey, just because of how tight knit our group was. It was kind of when I started to feel like I was really a big part of the team, and it was just a lot of fun getting the chance to play with my best friends in that state tournament. And unfortunately, we didn't get back my junior and senior year. So I think that was the most fun that I've had on any of my youth teams.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, Blake is such a rich legacy of hockey and winning a lot of championships at the single A level. And like, I mean, I only went to the state championship, let alone state, my first year. And I knew that it was super competitive to even go to state, and let alone I knew that there's a possibility that we were possibly going to move up to double A in the future. So I really didn't know if we were ever going to make it to state again. So I felt like I really had to cherish that moment. And it was just so much fun. I mean, winning a state championship is one thing, but winning it with Maddie was a whole different thing. And I remember watching her at the previous state championships and thinking how cool it was. And just the entire thing about the state tournament, there's something so special about the state tournament in Minnesota. Being able to play in front of your family, your friends, just representing your high school is really cool. And I would say just the state tournament is something that everyone in Minnesota looks forward to, whether you're playing in it or watching it. It's something really special.
Now, moving on from high school USA hockey, you've been both parts of different teams at different levels. So just take us through some of the opportunities you both have had for playing for your country.
Okay. So going into my 9th grade year was kind of the start of kind of the HP, like high performance programs to kind of get through the U18 ranks. And I was fortunate enough to make that summer team going in my freshman year of high school. And then my 9th, 10th, 11th grade years, I was on the U18 team. We won gold all 3 years, like you mentioned. And each year was so different and so special. And it was just so unique to be able to go to all these different places and all these different countries, and getting to meet just like all these different players from different countries as well. I'm learning about their cultures and how the game of hockey is both so similar in countries but also different. And so that was really cool. And then my senior year and going into my freshman year, I was on the U22 team for the summer series against Canada. And then kind of my senior year through today, I've been trying to move up the ranks within the national program, within the player pool.
Yeah, and for me, Matt and I never actually played on the same team. My first year, I didn't have the chance to play with her. So, but I always watched her, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever to have a sister part of the U18 program. And I didn't think it was even imaginable. Like, I didn't think I could ever make the team. I mean, I always wanted to, but I knew how competitive it was. And watching all these girls, I thought they were the best players I've ever seen play hockey. So kind of just watching her and knowing kind of what to expect and how hard I'd have to work to make the team was something that I always strive for. And just being able to put on that jersey, there's no feeling like it. And let alone winning a gold medal and on the blue line, just cheering with your team, singing, belting out the national anthem. Like, Madeline can attest to this. It's just like, you look back and you're like, wow, that was really special. And for us to have the opportunity to play at such a high level and represent our country is super special, and something that we never took for granted at all.
Yeah, and I think some of my favorite games from U18s were against Canada. There's just that rivalry there's nothing like it. And I was fortunate enough to end up on the winning side of things, but honestly, those games could have gone either way. My first year was in Canada. That was probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in hockey. It was in St. Catharines, Ontario, and we obviously were the away team, and the gold medal game, and so it was a 5,000 seat rink, and I think maybe 100 people were for the US, and so it was definitely everyone against us, and we were losing 2-0, and then we were able to come back, and then we won in overtime, and I was actually out there, and so when I saw the goal go in, I just threw my gloves in the air and ran into the pile, and it was the weirdest experience because the rink was just dead silent except for like little cheers, and our cheers obviously from our team. So I think that was one of the coolest experiences that I've had in hockey. And then we've had overtime. And then the following year was basically almost an overtime game against Canada. And then my last year we beat Canada in a shootout. So it's always really close to Canada. It's really fun.
Absolutely, and we'll transition into Minnesota now. Obviously, you're both with the Golden Gophers program, so take us through the process of recruiting, and how did you know Minnesota was the school to go to?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, our aunts both played here, and growing up in Minnesota, like every single little girl, it's your dream to play at the U or play college hockey in general. But something about the U is just like I grew up watching the games and singing the Gopher song in Minnesota, yelling out the letters. But I feel like it's just always been something that I've always wanted to do. Never realized it could even be possible, because I knew that watching them, I'm like, holy crap, they're so good. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, but it was always something that I always strive for. And once the opportunity came, I was like, okay, I've always wanted to do this. Why would I go to any other school? But just being able to play at the University of Minnesota with Madeline and in front of all my family, and just represent the state of hockey. It's been really fun, and I'm really excited just for the next few years where we actually get to have fans, hopefully, because being a fan to being actually on the team is going to be pretty interesting to experience.
Yeah, it was an easy decision, like Audrey mentioned, not only for the hockey aspect, but the school aspect as well. I just think that we get the best of both worlds, and so it was so easy. Like when they offered, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Like there was no other option to me at the end of the day. Even though I was looking at other schools, I was just like, it just didn't feel right. And when I got the opportunity to actually visit the campus, I just like fell in love, and I knew it was home right away for me. And to be able to play alongside my sister, and especially in a year with the pandemic, we weren't allowed to go home. We weren't allowed to see our family. Like, I think I had an advantage because I had one of my siblings that I could see, which was nice. So it's really special to get that opportunity to play together.
Now, take us through both your first college games, and who are they against, and how did they go for you guys?
Do you
want to go or want me to go?
I can go. So my first game, we played Colgate, who at the time was ranked in the top 10, and it was a non-conference game. So we knew it was really important for the pairwise, and would be important later on in the season for seeding. So we knew this non-conference games would be really important. So I actually got our first goal, which was cool. Like, if you would have asked me if I would have scored the first goal that season, or like or a goal in the first game, like in the first period, I probably would have said, yeah, right. And so getting that first goal was like really cool, and like hearing my name like called when they announced who scored was really cool, because I'd always been in the stands, like Audrey said, as a fan, and so hearing your name called was really special. And we won that game 2-0.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because Madeline, I was watching Madeline's first game, we were on our official visit, so all of us incoming freshmen were sitting in the stands, and I was looking. My parents always sit in the same exact spot. They've been or standing in the same exact spot. They've been standing there. My grandparents stand there. It's just kind of like our spot to stand. And I looked up and they weren't there. I'm like, oh gosh, they missed her first collegiate goal because she scored pretty early in the game. They were coming from my little sister's. I think she had a hockey game, so they were coming late to the game from, of course, another hockey. But they literally just missed it because as I was looking into the wherever they like where people enter into the rink, they were literally just walking in as Madeline scored. So I don't think that they actually ended up seeing it, but they ended up hearing her name, which is pretty special. But it's kind of funny that I probably wouldn't have been able to actually see it live hadn't I been on my official visit. So I think that was pretty special. But just walking through my first game was against Ohio State, and I just remember just putting on the jersey, like a couple of tears like kind of came to me. It's like, wow, it's finally my turn to put on the jersey and be a Golden Gopher. And I just remember putting on the jersey for the first time, and it kind of just hit me like, wow, like I've been watching my entire life and now it's my turn. But yeah, that was a really fun game. I think Grace Elminkle scored within the first like few seconds of the game, and ever since that, I mean, we won 4-0 in that game, so it was a really fun game to be a part of. And obviously I had a few nerves, but as soon as I got on the ice, it just sunk in, and I just played my game, and it was just fun to finally be on the ice and play against a really fun team. And always those games against Ohio State or Wisconsin or really any team in the WCHA, it's always fun just to compete and just play your game.
Now we'll get Ishi to kind of take us through what a normal game day looks like. We'll let Maddie go first because it obviously is her second season, so she has a little more experience of a non-COVID season. Like
Yeah.
But yeah, let Maddie go first, and then Audrey, you explain in like kind of a COVID season how it looked for you.
Yeah, so in the non-COVID year, I actually had class on Fridays, which kind of sucked. So like I'd end up having to go to class instead of pregame skate. So I kind of would just like get a little jog in or something after class on my way to pregame meal. So we always have pregame meal, and then I usually go back, just hang out, maybe watch a TV show or two. I don't like to take naps because I just feel like tired afterwards. So I know a lot of people are, but I just don't do that. And then I usually put on some music, get ready, pick my outfit out. Gotta look good. Look good, feel good, play good, as I say. And then I usually walk to Starbucks, pick up my Starbucks, listening to music, and then head to the rink. But now with this COVID year, it was a bit different because we had testing, obviously, COVID testing on game days. And then because all my classes were online this year, I was able to make the pregame skates, which was nice. And then typically we always pregame skate on Fridays, and then on Saturdays people have the option to pregame skate or to just do dynamic warm-up. But usually I skate and then kind of the same from there.
Yeah, just from my experience, what I've experienced so far is you wake up in the morning, you actually go to TCF Bank where we get tested, and we actually got tested every single day, or it was like 6 days a week, I think, during the season. So it was a lot. And we just did antigen, which people confuse with antibodies, but basically antigen tests is just to detect whether or not you have it in your system at all. And basically what happens, we go to the rink and or not to the rink, we'd either go to the athletes village is what they call it, or TCF on game days. And you just get like kind of like a cotton swab up your nose, and then you give it to them, and then you go sit in a chair and wait for your results, and then you're free to go. And that's usually about like 20 minutes after you sit down. So that would happen. And then we'd usually go and get some breakfast, depending on what time the game was at. They'd either offer that as a pregame meal or just breakfast. And then usually just go to pregame skate or whether it's Saturday. I kind of just decide based on how I'm feeling, whether I'm going to skate or just do dynamic warm-ups. And then after that, just kind of hang out. I'm roommates with Abby Murphy, and we kind of would have our own little thing. We'd go watch like an action movie and just kind of get pumped up for the game. And then sometimes, I mean, this year we didn't really do a lot of pregame meals at the rink. A few times we did at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, but really we did a lot of just takeout. So we just sit in our room and eat food. And then Madeline would always bring me my Starbucks and get all ready and go to the game. So
She's
kind of
walk to Starbucks, so I always had double fisting on the way to the rink. The worst was when it was like cold out and I like my mittens wouldn't be able to like hold on, so then I wouldn't be able to wear them and my fingers would be frozen by the time I got to the rink.
Yeah, well, okay, so I live at 17th, which is literally right across from Ritter Arena. And then the Starbucks that she would go to is in Dinkytown. So it's literally on her way to the rink. I'd have to walk over there and then come right back. So I was like, you can just grab it on the way.
Now, what is your most embarrassing moment for each of you in a game with Minnesota?
That's a hard question.
I know, I'm trying to think about that.
I would say probably one of the more embarrassing ones is like I'm on the point and I think I have the puck on my stick and then I try and shoot and then I just don't have it on my stick anymore. That was probably the worst.
She frozen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I guess I can go. I feel like I've had a few embarrassing moments, but I would say like there's been a few times. So in college hockey, you do so if you ice the puck, you had to stay on the ice, and I'd always have this little thing where if like I got stuck out there, like sometimes the refs don't catch it, but one time I got off on the bench and I sat down and acted like I wasn't out on the ice when it was icing, and the ref like just pointed to me and you're like, okay, you know that you're out there, and then my coach goes, oh, what are you doing? Like, and I was like, oh gosh, but it was kind of funny. I mean, no one in the fan, like no one on the stadium or the ring saw it happen, but just all the people on the bench are like, oh my gosh.
That too, though, it sometimes works.
No, it sometimes does work, and I mean, you just got to make it super sly, and then you got to sit down right away and like act like you're just on the bench cheering. So it's kind of a skill.
Now, what was one of your favorite trips that the team was able to do this season?
I would say my favorite trip was Duluth.
Yeah, same.
Not only because we have that in-state rivalry with Duluth, but it's always pretty to go up there on Lake Superior. I like taking pregame walks with like Grace Zumwinkle and Audrey, and so it's probably the prettiest pregame walks we take, just right along Lake Superior and then the Canal Park, and then we swept them that weekend, so that's always fun.
Yeah, I would say Duluth too. I don't know. There's like it was right before. Was it right before? No, it wasn't. It was one of our like first games of the season. It was our first away trip. So something about that is like super excited. That being my first away trip with the Gophers. Plus, so right out of the rink, it's called Bentleyville, and it's like there's like a light show, and so it was really pretty because after our games, those lights were always on. I thought that was super cool. And I don't know, just something about Duluth. We have a cabin kind of near Duluth, so it kind of just reminds us of our cabin. And just Lake Superior is so pretty, and Duluth is a great area. So I feel like that was probably one of my favorites as well.
Now, what are some of the activities you guys are able to do this year as a team? Obviously, COVID restrictions there, it's probably pretty tight. So just take us through some of the stuff you guys could actually do together.
Yeah, I would say there honestly wasn't, from my experience, and I mean, I know that Madeline they did a lot of things, different fun things like curling and going out to eat as a team, but I would say there honestly wasn't too much. But there was a few things, like we went to an apple orchard right before the season, and that was so much fun. And that was kind of one of the first outings as a team where we all just kind of got to know each other, and that was super fun. Just like hanging out as a team. I mean, we didn't really get to spend a lot of time outside of the rink, but whenever we did, it was super nice, and it was a great way for all of us to meet each other. We also had like a little Christmas like present exchange, and that was super fun. It was what is it called? White elephant, Maddie? Is that
Yeah, I think
kind of like that? It's kind of like Secret Santa, but not really.
like
that was
some
super
people
fun.
gave really nice gifts, and then other people gave I
Like-
would say the nicest.
There was a girl that gave someone a pineapple. And we're all like, oh my gosh, like why?
I got a smoothie maker, so
Yeah,
that,
you got something nice.
but someone else got a pineapple, so that's tough. We also got to skate outdoors this year, which was really fun. I think coming from Minnesota, all of us grew up outside skating. But there was one player on our team, Josie Dunn, that's never like skated outside before. So that was really interesting because she's from Missouri. And apparently it just doesn't get cold enough for that to occur in
Yeah, she
Missouri.
goes, why would you skate outside when you have a perfectly fine rink indoors? Because we were at the Oval, which is like there's an indoor rink, and then there's a huge outdoor rink. But honestly, I don't think she got the best experience because it was literally so windy that day. So all the pylons and everything like that and the netting was all like just blowing away. So the entire time the coaches were having to like scramble and get all the barriers back in place so we could actually scrimmage. And then when we were skating up the ice, it literally felt like someone was pulling you back because it was so windy. So I don't think that she got the best experience. So hopefully we can do that again so that she actually can experience Pondy outside. So
For sure.
Now, some NCAA questions here. Top 3 rinks that you guys have played at, and why are they in your top 3?
Oh, I'm trying to think of okay, we played in Nashville, which was really cool my freshman year. So I'd have to say that rink just because it was in Nashville and it was very different from anything. It was a brand new rink. It was the Nashville Predators practice rink. We got to play against BC and Harvard there. So that I would say that's in my top 3. Another one I would say would probably be Duluth. I just think they have a quality rink. They're the ice is pretty good. It's not too far of a drive for us, so that's another nice part. Audrey, you go ahead, and then I'll come back.
Okay. I mean, I didn't really get to play at that many rinks this year. I mean, I got to play at Wisconsin, which they have a very similar rink to Ritter Arena. So I would say that they have a really nice rink. Plus, they have their own rink, which is something that not a lot of women's collegiate hockey teams have. So I'd say Wisconsin has a really cool rink. And then, I mean, Ritter I always love Ritter. It's just a great rink, and it fits our Gopher team so well. And I mean, I haven't played in front of fans yet, but I know that it gets super rowdy in there. So, but I also get to play at Bemidji, and Bemidji is just that's like a up north rink, and it's like a nice rink. I think it's called Sanford Center, and it's right off the lake. So I think that's super cool. But yeah, I would say Duluth is probably one of the best rinks to play in.
Yeah, I would definitely agree about the Bemidji rink. There's something to it that it's like, you get that woods feel to it. I don't know what about it, and it's also like really close to our DoubleTree Hotel, so that's nice because we just walked the rink. And it's just I think they built it in like the past 10 or 15 maybe years. I don't know exactly, but it's really nice. I think all the rinks almost in the WCHA are nice. I would say there's a few, I'm not going to name names, that are below par, but I bet people can imagine which ones they are.
Now, favorite NCAA jersey and why?
Oh, can I say the Gophers or like because I don't want to say like another team, you know. I would say I like the classic, like we don't have this, but the men's team does, and I like the classic like Gophers like across like diagonal. I think that just looks really clean, and I personally never had a jersey like that, and I really want a jersey like that. So
I like St. Cloud's men's hockey jerseys. I don't know. I just like the colors and how they look, and I would say like the St. Cloud state logo is pretty cool. I mean, I'm kind of biased just because my mom coached there, so we both rooted for St. Cloud in the national championship, and unfortunately they kind of got beat up on. But I'd say I really like St. Cloud's jerseys.
Now, usually at schools down there, there's kind of a rivalry between the men's and women's programs. So with Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, who's the better team, the men's or the women's?
Can I say no comment? No, I'm kidding. I would say we've both had a lot of success. And I wouldn't try to pin us against each other just because both teams are pretty good supporters of each other. Like the men's team, like they wanted to come to our games this year and we wanted to go to their games. And obviously they didn't allow it to occur just because of the pandemic and like not even having any parents for most of the season come. But usually like we're at their games and they're at our games. So I would say historically Minnesota women's is probably the best if you look in terms of the 7 national championships. I don't think they have that many, and they also haven't won since 2002. I was really, really hoping they'd win this year, but they have a really, really good team and they're really fun to watch. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to get the big W next year.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch them this year. I mean, we've watched them growing up and always going to their games. I thought it was the coolest thing. I literally thought it was kind of like going to their games, kind of like going to an NHL game in the sense that it was like, wow, they're so sweet and just the atmosphere there. And I think that's one thing that they really missed out on this year with such a successful season was having fans. And I feel like, I mean, just being able to watch them and kind of just be able to like know them or know of them, I think that's pretty cool.
Now, here finally, before we wrap up this segment, women's and men's games being shown fairly. So up in Canada here, they showed the Frozen Four for the women's, and when the men's tournament came around on the network up here on TSN, it's called, they were showing the whole regional for the men's. So just put your impact into how you think the women's game has kind of been grown the last few years and how it can continue to grow in the US and Canada in the future.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest phrases I like to say is like, if you can see it, you can be it. And so I think the more coverage the women's game gets and the more opportunities that it is on TV, the more girls like that are 5, 4, 6, kind of that age group, like they can see that, then they'll want to play college hockey, like they'll want to play hockey. And I think it's so important. It's good that this year, like it was the games, the Frozen Four was on ESPN. Like that's a huge step forward for the game. But I also think like we can even do better. The games for the quarterfinals were online, and the frustrating part I think for a lot of fans this year was the lack of access to our games. You had to like pay for memberships. We played on both Flow Hockey and on Big Ten Plus, and so you need accounts for both of those, so that's kind of like double the money in some ways, to pay to watch us play. And like usually a lot of our fans would be at our games, so they're having to like pay for double subscriptions. I just think is just makes it more difficult for people to watch our games, and I think there should be a way to make it more accessible to people.
Yeah.
There was one game this year when we played at Wisconsin that was on TV, but I wish there were more.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Just what people don't realize is that we're not part of the Big Ten. We're the WCHA. So technically, like they're always wondering why our games aren't streamed on Big Ten, which is kind of frustrating. It's like you want to promote women's hockey, and Madeline and I both coached during the summer, and so a lot of girls want to watch us, and just like the more you promote women's hockey, the more girls are gonna play and have the confidence and kind of like realize they have the opportunity to be just as good as who their coach is or whoever they're watching. So I feel like that's a lot of good has been done, but I think that there can always be more. And I really am a strong believer in the fact that we got to fight for what we believe in, and just to, never settle for less than what you believe is right. And I think that they have taken a lot of good strides, but I think that more work can still be done.
For sure, and we'll transition to having some fun here for some of these questions. So, on your team, who is the messiest?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, you go then.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not easy. I was thinking about like messy. I would say like what I feel like Abby Murphy, she might not be the messiest, but I feel like she tends to lose things a lot. So I kind of categorize her as being messy in that sense, or like she'll forget stuff. Like she'll forget her, and I know that maybe I'm a little biased because she's my roommate, but she does keep her stuff pretty clean. But Madeline also, I don't know, you said that Olivia King is pretty messy.
Yeah, I would say the thing about Abby Murphy that comes to my mind is she left her Starbucks drink in her stall for like a long time, and I looked at it and it had mold growing in it, and I was like, that is done. I'm done. And I threw it away. Like I was like, that is disgusting.
She always had like 3 or 4 Starbucks like half drinking cups and on her dorm desks because we're both roommates. So I'd always be like, okay, time to throw those away. I'm like, okay, so she gets a venti and then she only drinks like literally this much, and then but then she claims it's the ice. But I swear to God, she doesn't drink it all. I'm just like, get a grande, like save some money and drink it all, and then throw it away.
I would also have to say maybe I live in the hockey house with like 9 other girls. And there's some that are messier than others, some that are very, very clean. I would say I took over Crystal and Hengler's room, and when I went into the room to like check it out before I moved in, I was like, holy buckets, this needs to be cleaned up. And then also I would have to say maybe Abby Barine too. Those two okay. My freshman year, Sydney Sharon and Olivia King were roommates, and their room was just a mess. It was so bad. I love them all. Love every single person. Some are just messier than others.
Now, who runs the music in the dressing room, and is it good or just awful?
Olivia Knowles runs it usually, right? She does it for games, and then it kind of switches up. Sometimes different people run it for practice, but I would say that she has good music taste, and I mean, she gets all pumped up for games. So I would say that, yeah, I like her music taste.
Yeah, I like Knowlesy's music taste. I think she has a good mix. Sometimes I don't really know the songs, so that downgrades a few points, but maybe that's on me. Should probably say it's on me to not know. But I also have to, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like I played music a few times for pregame, and I would play like country, just like we just not pregame skate, like when we were on the ice. I'd play some country music, and a lot of people liked that. I know Emily Brown was a big proponent of my country music playlist, but I wouldn't say I took over the aux too much, but when I did, it went okay.
Loudest in the room and on the ice.
Oh, I would say Olivia Knowles is pretty
Yeah.
loud. she she was my D partner a lot of this year, and on the bench, in between shifts, like she's just chirping at the other team, like it's nonstop, or at the refs, and like she just won't shut her mouth. Sometimes I'm like, Knowles, we can't be doing that, but at the same time, I just think it's so funny. Like I'm laughing away. She's pretty funny. And I think her goal was to like be the most enthusiastic player during the warm-up drills during practice. So she was pretty loud when we'd be doing that. And yeah, she has a really great personality. Audrey, who do you think?
No, I agree 100%. Like, she's the most consistent. Like, we have some players that are super loud occasionally, but I would say that she always brings, like, the energy every single day, no matter what.
What's the best trope you've heard her use on another girl in the game?
Oh, I don't even
There's
know.
so many.
There's
Like,
so many. They're usually just like at the refs too.
yeah.
And she'll like apologize with her like Canadian accent. Like and then she I think she has ADHD, and she always like says like she can't like focus for drills and stuff. So that's pretty funny. She'll be like, "Oh my gosh, my ADHD was through the roof. I didn't listen to a single thing at the board when we're there for like 20 minutes." Um ah I would say there's been a few on some players, but I'm not going to go into detail because they might not be the most appropriate.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a few people on our team that consistently chirp. It's probably like, I mean, Murphy, she chirps a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Amy Potomac, I feel like she's like, she'll chirp occasionally. But I feel like it's like mostly like people are just like chirping from the bench, like, or like, well, like those like chirp, like say random stuff from the bench. Or okay, actually, I do have one. Okay, so JJ and Frosty, sometimes they get super mad at the refs, and there was one time where Frosty, or I forget if it was Frosty or JJ, maybe now I don't remember, but the ref made a terrible call, and I forget what it was. Maybe it was just like someone got a penalty and they really shouldn't have. But he like yelled at the ref. He's like, "You're just JV, like maybe not even that, junior gold." Like, you know, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" But honestly, I would say the coaches chirp the refs like a lot.
True. The coaches really are big chirpers sometimes, and then they like apologize. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like, guys, don't repeat after what we just said. It's just pretty funny, actually.
Mhm.
Now, who is most likely to forget something on an overnight trip?
Oh, that's for sure. That's what maybe okay, maybe Murphy's not the messiest, but she's like definitely forgets stuff. One time Madeline and I were hanging out with her, and I just caught her at the end of her run, and she was trying to get into a building because we need our U cards to get into the building, and she's like, oh God, like she was feeling around herself in her pockets, like, and then she like realized she lost her U card, which you need to get into literally everything and pay for your food and everything like that on her run. And she went on a pretty long run, and she had to backtrack her entire way back, and she actually found it right in front of TCF Bank, or TCF, yeah, the football stadium. And I was like, oh my gosh. But she also forgot her blanket at Duluth. Um, uh, when we stayed overnight there. She's forgotten for testing, we need our IDs always, and she's forgotten that a few times, how to ride a second bus or get driven there. So I feel like her for sure.
Yeah, I'd probably say her too.
I would say maybe even you a little bit.
Me? Yeah.
Just like maybe not necessarily like forgetting stuff, but being like late or like not like realizing you're supposed to be somewhere when you're supposed to be there.
Funny story about me being late. We were in Nashville my freshman year, and me and Gracie Ashatag were together, and we didn't realize that the bus was leaving for pregame meal at this time. We thought it was like 5 minutes after or something. We just missed the time, and the bus left without us, and we had to Uber to the pregame meal, and we actually got there before the bus got there, and we were just sitting at the table like waiting for them to arrive, and so that was the best part because we still got there before they did.
Now, something that's kind of taken over the last year and a bit is TikTok. So who's the best and worst TikToker on your team?
Okay, Madeline and I made a TikTok, or our family made a TikTok while we were in quarantine, and I don't even, how many likes did it get or views or whatever?
Let me check.
Because it blew up, and it was like the quarantine workout, so we were all dressed in like leotards or like 80s clothes, and we all made this.
It's gotten 1.3 million views and 228,000 likes.
So I would say like we had our little bit moment of fame, but I would say like most.
Recognized at the park by kids, like they're like, you guys
Oh
are,
yeah.
you guys are like the quarantine.
Yeah, Mel and I were on a walk like a few days after we went viral, and these kids were like, quarantine workout, and that was like what our TikTok was about. But honestly,
Like I can't even walk my dog without being spotted. I'm like Justin Bieber, like, like
no, seriously.
jeez.
Okay, but Olivia King has some funny TikToks. They're just like, she doesn't like use any like music or anything, but she just kind of narrates her life or like her day, and it's literally just like the most random stuff. And it was kind of funny because one time her dad texted her saying, "Okay, you gotta take those down. People are gonna think that you're like a psychopath." Like she's she's for sure the funniest person on our team, and just her TikToks always like brighten up my day because I'm just like they're so random and just so funny.
They're the best. Like she's private, so. And she probably doesn't want people to know about her TikTok because they're just so weird. But like, I love them. It just shows her humor. Michaela Paul would want to be mentioned because she's just addicted to TikTok. She has like 16,000 followers. Some of her TikToks are better than others, but no, she's very into like the dancing TikToks.
Yeah, she's always in our locker room, like before or after practice, making TikToks, and I'm like, okay, just don't get me in it. Okay.
Now, a TikTok trend that kind of has gone around, know you guys don't have a brother, but if you did, who's one girl on the team that you wouldn't want to date your brother?
I'm trying to think.
I would have to say
Probably say Katie Skaya.
I would say Katie Skaya.
Yeah. She's just like always cracking like inappropriate jokes, and then just like I just cringe, and I'm like, oh god, I feel uncomfortable. So I feel like she would just make it I feel like it's nothing like against her. I feel like she'd just make it super uncomfortable, and she'd be like telling us everything about them, and I'd be like, okay, I really don't need to know this stuff. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Now we're going to get into some family fun questions here, so we can keep it between you two. So what annoys you most about the other person?
My like thing I always say is like, you're so annoying. Like that's probably like the most like common thing I say to Madeline whenever she's just making me mad. But I would say like, I don't even know, it's just sometimes you just like, it's not like a specific thing that you do, and it's probably honestly just on me. when I'm just like in a bad mood, I'm just like literally anything that she does just makes me mad. And I'm like, because I'm like literally around her 24/7. So like sometimes I just get sick of her and I'm like literally just I don't even want to be around you anymore.
I would say she knows this, but she always has to like get her way sometimes. Like she makes me feel bad, like my way. Like she's like, let's go on a walk. Like and then guilts me and like keeps guilting me and like I'm like, no, like it's about to rain. And then like the one time I'm right, it's like it's downpouring. Like we would have been stuck and running home. Like it's those sort of things. She always like makes me feel like she's the one who needs to be right.
And it just kind of starts going like a little higher each time, and then it just becomes personal. And then my parents are like, "Just stop it! Like, cut it out!" Like, because we like know each other so well, so we like it starts off friendly, and like it's just like like blah, and then it literally just becomes personal, and it gets. My parents are like, "Literally, what are you guys doing? Cut it out!"
No, that's pretty funny. I was thinking about a time this summer at our cabin. We're on the dock and we're just going back and forth at each other, just chirping, and it just keeps getting higher and higher. And we're just laughing because it's kind of funny. But like,
My parents think it's like whenever we do that, they're like, why do you guys do that? And we're like, it's funny. Like, and then it like someone does a comment, and then my parents almost like seem to get offended that we're even saying that to the other person.
Now, describe the other sibling in just 3 words.
Do you want to go?
yeah, sure. Okay. I would say Audrey is okay. Hardworking is technically 2 words. I'm thinking, or I'm just gonna add a hyphen in between hard work. I think that so hard work, determined, and uh, particular.
Okay, I'll take those 3 words. I would say just like resilient for you, just like you're always just trying to get better, no matter what. And then I would just say like you're very like analytical, um, and just like with hockey, and then like that can apply to school as well. And then I would say just like you're very like caring, like you're very like you always want to make sure those around you feel comfortable or know that you like them and stuff like that.
Now I feel bad. I feel like particular, like I meant like as in you like things certain ways and like you like to stick to them.
Okay.
And then determined, like you're not gonna give up. Like you are probably like the most like intense person when it comes to things like
Okay, I have another word, competitive.
oh okay,
He's
yeah.
probably one of the most competitive people. So I'd scratch analytical and make it competitive.
And then you're just like pure hard work bull
Mhm.
out there on the ice.
I'm in the weight
And in
room.
the classroom.
In the classroom. Mom and dad would be wanting us to say that.
Now, who takes longer to get ready?
It kind of depends on the day. I don't know, like,
Audrey, I feel like you take long.
okay, but like getting ready for school or like hockey, because if it's hockey, Madeline can get dressed in like 3 minutes. So that can't even compare to that. So, but I would say it kind of depends on the day. Sometimes I'll be like, we drove to school always together. And I'd be like, some days I'd be waiting for her for like 10 minutes and be honking the horn, like, come on, let's go. And then sometimes she'd be waiting. So it honestly depends on how we're feeling.
But I feel like sometimes you just like I'm usually always the one to shower first too. So
Okay, yeah. So that makes me later, yeah.
yeah.
Now, when you guys are at home, whose room is messier?
We share the same room.
We actually share the same room. So we're actually really, really clean. Like we make our bed every day.
We learned that from our dad
We don't
because
share the same bed. We have twin size beds like next to each other, and we don't usually ever have anything on the floor. Like we're very particular. We don't like things to be messy.
yeah, we learned that from our dad because my dad's like uber like clean and he wants everything to be spotless. And if it's out, we learned this about my dad is if it's out in the like open and you don't put your stuff away, he's gonna do it for you. And most likely he's gonna put it in a spot that you have no idea and he's not even gonna remember. So it's kind of we had to put away our stuff or else we're not gonna have no idea where it goes in the house.
That's so true.
I'll just stuff it in the closet.
And I'm like, where's my t-shirt or something? And he'll be like, I don't, what are you talking about?
Then tuck your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Now, what's your sibling's most embarrassing story?
I feel like, I mean, we could really expose each other, but I don't know. Mel, do you want to go first? Don't expose me too much. I'm kidding.
I don't even know if like I have a really like embarrassing story for you. Can you even? I can't even think of one.
Okay.
You really like embarrassed yourself too much. You're usually just like. I would say this is sad, embarrassing, but like she missed her last putt in sections, and that was to like automatically go to state. So like she missed the putt and then had to go into playoff holes, and then she lost in the playoff holes, and then she didn't go to state.
Yeah, it was the most stressful thing ever. Like I was so mad looking back because I missed like a putt that like I always made, and I was just ready for so I went into the sections. It's like a 2-day section, 18 hole. I went in leading the section, which was probably the most embarrassing part. And then I don't know what happened that day. I don't know if I was too confident coming in or like if I was just off, and I didn't like I shot probably like 5 or 6 strokes higher than I usually do. Well, and I was just like, and then I didn't even go to state. And then COVID hit, so I didn't get a senior season. So I'm not happy about that. Still kind of a tough subject. But I would say for Madeline, so it was like a few years ago, and we were at a Go for Men's hockey game. And it was after the game, and we were in the parking ramp right across from Ritter. And we were stuck in there for a while, and me and my friend Grace Johnson had the greatest idea to go to Insomnia Keys in P-Town. And so what happened was we drove to the parking lot, and we thought we were just going in for like 2 minutes because usually Insomnia is not like it's really quick to get a cookie. And so we parked in the legal parking spot, and we got there and Madeline wanted her peanut butter cookie. So we were waiting in line.
Oh, it was a snickerdoodle cookie.
Okay, snickerdoodle cookie. Okay, whatever. And so we were waiting there, and Madeline needed to get her snickerdoodle cookie. But they didn't have any left, so they had to go make some. And so probably like 10, 15 minutes later, we walk out and our car is on like the tow truck. And Madeline starts like literally like faking crying. But I think that she honestly almost started crying to the guy, and I was just
I was bawling.
Like, okay,
I was bawling.
Yeah, you're bawling. I was just kind of laughing. I'm like, okay, this is their job, Madeline. Like, stop crying. Like, we're just gonna have to pay. So Madeline was just bawling her eyes out, and I think that was pretty funny. And I was
trying to sell it, I was trying to like have them pity me and then like take it off the.
Yeah, and so we never told our parents about that until like a few weeks ago, honestly. And my parents were like, "Are you serious?" And the worst part about it was so for USA Hockey, you get like per diem money, And so I had just gotten back from the Worlds, and the only reason why we were able to hide it from my parents, and I hate hiding stuff from my parents. Like Alan and I, like my parents know like they'll find out, but they never found out about this one because I had $200 of cash from my USA Hockey per diem money in my wallet, so we just paid it in cash, and
It was a
or
lot
else
of
we would have had to pay like with Visa, and my parents would have found out. But I was so mad, but I thought it was pretty funny because I was just bawling her eyes out to the guy.
I was bawling my eyes out too because Audrey spent all her money on it, and it was kind of my fault. And yeah, so I felt terrible.
All for one cookie.
All for a snickerdoodle cookie.
Oh.
Tough. Well, like they were going out of the parking lot too. Like if we would have been like a minute later, there would have been no car there. And that would have been 10 times worse.
Yeah, our parents probably would have like grounded us forever.
Yeah. They didn't find out until like a few weeks ago when we told them. Audrey's boyfriend actually, and I think my boyfriend too, exposed us.
I was like, oh, come on.
I was like, guys.
We were planning on telling them at one of our weddings or something like that, but had to come out a little earlier.
Now, we put on our story on our media account here to get some fan questions, and Audrey's boyfriend has to be the biggest fan of you two, apparently. He's asked a number of questions. So we'll get into the first one from Landon. What does it mean for you guys to come from a Minnesota hockey power family?
That's so funny. I would say, I mean, it's like, we always have to work for stuff, and it's honestly like, not saying we have a lot of pressure, but we always have to like live up to expectations, always have to dream big, like bigger than everybody before us. Like our aunts, they play at the Gophers, like I want to make them proud. Like there's some kind of like I have to be like I have to play good, or not play good, but just like make them proud because they've worked so hard to get us this situation, and by being trailblazers in women's hockey. And they both play for the Whitecaps still, and my grandpa and my mom, she coached at St. Cloud State, started their program there, and so they've all been trailblazers. My grandma still plays hockey. My grandpa, like they all like have fought so hard for women's hockey in the state of Minnesota as well, like literally like, across to that, like is something that Mel and I always realized we have to do. And so by us like coaching, like we have that expectation to give back, and I think that's super special, and it's like a great honor for us to give back to the sport, just like they spent so long coaching us and watching them. And we have like little cousins that all play hockey, so just kind of being there for them and watching them play like my aunts did, I think that's super special. And it's kind of fun because at our holiday, like Christmas or Thanksgiving, even if the ice is frozen, we always go out and skate on the lake or at the oval. And it's literally like basically every single member of my family, immediate family, and then also like cousins and aunts and uncles, they all play hockey. So you could like from ages like 2, or not, maybe not 2, but like maybe 3, to my grandma and grandpa, we all are on the ice at the same time, all playing against each other. So I think that's kind of fun. And so I think that's really special that not a lot of people can say that their grandparents still play hockey. So I would say that's something that is really special about our family.
On his way to Tampa for the senior nationals, Tampa, Florida, on Wednesday. So that's pretty funny that my grandparents still play and lace it up. And I'm always like calling my grandma and she's to hockey. I'm like,
it'll be like after our games, like you would think that grandparents are usually like, oh, nice job, but you work so hard. Like she's giving me tips, like like you gotta shoot the puck or you gotta do stuff like that, and it's kind of funny. Like, your grandparents are working so hard, but honestly, it's really fun because we get to talk hockey. Not a lot of people can talk hockey with their grandma.
Now, another question Landon had was one-on-one full ice, who wins between you two?
Always.
That's not playing,
What?
Audrey. We're not playing.
Oh, okay. So there's a game. Wait, what do you mean?
Okay, the game called poker. So we were coaching this summer, and so I'd have my team, and she'd have her.
And I always end up on the one-on-one together. Either it's because sometimes I'll just volunteer for the one-on-one because it's like or like just like to be the one player, and sometimes it'll be a 1-on-5 and I'll be the one, and it's just like I'll just get it over with, whatever. And Mal and I always end up playing one-on-one. And it's just like it's like a literal battle to your death. Like it's so much fun, and it's really like Madeleine's defense. I'm a forward, so I'll like she'll dangle me, and then like I'll like stop her, and then go on a breakaway, and then I'll miss, and then she'll go on a breakaway, and it's just like I swear to God, it's always the longest one-on-one ever. Just because we literally we back check so hard. So we're like, I don't want to let her score on me. Like, it's so competitive, but I don't know. Who usually wins?
I think we both know the answer.
What's the answer?
I'm not going to say the answer if you don't know the
I know
answer.
it. I'm the one that usually wins.
What? No. That's not true. You
Kind of
never.
depends. I win a few, you win a few. We kind of split.
Okay. Well, we'll say we split. It's a but
maybe
like,
we'll have to play sometime soon.
We're still waiting for the best of like game 7. We're kind of like split 3-3.
Yeah, I think we'll have to play one-on-one sometime soon.
No, Audrey wins.
Now,
Audrey wins a lot.
Brandon Bosch asked, who is the favorite child?
That's her boyfriend.
My boyfriend, Brandon. What did he say?
Who is the favorite child?
It depends on the day. That's what my parents say. Sometimes my mom will, when she's happy with one of us, like she'll be like, she won't say it, but she'll like mouth it, saying, like, you're my favorite. Like,
or no, what she'll always do, like my parents will always do, is like we'll be sitting at dinner, and like some people have been good that day. So Mal and I, we both have Jackie, and then Adeline, our 2 other sisters, and they'll go through all of us, and they'll be like, okay, Audrey and Jacqueline, you got an A+ today. Adeline, you got a C, and then Madeline, you got a B. Like they'll go through it, and it's kind of their way of saying who it is for the day, who did the most chores, or who was drama filled today. Like it kind of depends.
There's no actual favorite. It's just all for fun.
And then another one we got is, who's your favorite sister?
Adeline. Okay, so we kind of I think it was one of Adeline's friends, our little sister, that asked it, or it was maybe Jackie, my other sister, that asked it. And Adeline prepped me for that question. She's like, Audrey, you gotta say me. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm your favorite sister. So we'll just say that, just for her to be happy, I'll say that Adeline's my favorite sister. When I love them all equally.
I would say you and Adeline fight the most too, which is
Because we're the most similar. Like we're both.
You guys are both like savage. Like Adeline, she's
She's going to be 13.
12. She's going to be 13 May 20th. I was like, oh my gosh. It's actually kind of crazy because we're 8 years apart. But she is like the most sassy little girl ever. Well, you have to be when you're the youngest to stick up for yourself. But love her. Jackie, she's just so sweet. Like, she always wins, like, at school. Like, she'll win, like, the nicest person award. Like, she'll literally, like, she won the Heart Award at Blake, which was, like, a pretty big deal. It's, like, honesty, like, integrity, respect, like, responsibility, trust, like, kind of that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course she wins it.
But no, it's kind of funny because on the ice, like, she always used to be, like, the girl that said sorry after she would hit someone or, like, make someone fall. And I remember a distinct moment where one of her coaches maybe sat her down, or maybe it was my mom or someone, and was like, you got to stop saying sorry because I know, like, it's hockey. Like, you can't say sorry. And now she's probably one of the most, like,
Savage,
like, hardworking, like, she's a redhead, so we call her fiery, and she's, like, the most fiery person ever on the ice now. I think
she punched a girl this year. Like, we were watching the live stream game, and all of a sudden we see, like, a fight break out. And then I see it's Jackie, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, she literally just, like, decked a girl in the face. So, like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. She has one side of her that is the sweetest girl, and then you put her on the ice and you're like, oh gosh.
You don't want to mess with her. So I would say Jackie because Audrey said Adeline. She'll be happy I said that.
Maybe our dog is our favorite.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's probably going to be some sibling rivalry after that. I know Audrey's class here in a couple minutes, so we'll let her hop off, and Maddie can stay in here for a little bit because she's got some more time. So thanks for hopping on here, Audrey, and we'll let you jump here to get to class on time.
Yes, thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you, and I'm really excited to listen to this.
Absolutely.
All right, see ya.
Thanks again to Audrey for hopping on here. I know we carried that along a little longer probably than she might have expected, but we're going to keep Maddie here for a little while longer. She's got some more time. So we'll go back to your first year with Minnesota last year, obviously winning Rookie of the Year. Take us through that year. Obviously, it's a distinct honor to have. So to come in first year and win that award, just take us through what was going through your mind the whole season.
Yeah, I would say, like, obviously it was such an honor. I wasn't necessarily, if you asked me before, like, the award was announced, like, I probably would have said I wasn't really expecting that to happen, just because there's so many girls that had great years. And I would say transitioning to college, like, I was really lucky to be able to, like, get experience with USA Hockey, like, with U18s and U22s, and going to kind of national team camps. Like, that experience was really beneficial for me as I transitioned to college. Obviously, it's a huge step from high school, and the first few weeks was definitely really challenging. Like, it just made me realize how competitive and how good everyone is in college, because everyone got high school where you have girls who aren't going to continue on and might not have the dedication that girls who want to play at the next level have. But to win it in the WCHA, I might be biased because I'm in the WCHA, but I think the WCHA conference is by far the best. I mean, there was 3 teams in the Frozen Four this year from the WCHA. We were the Frozen Face-Off this year, or the final Face-Off this year. Our conference championship literally had all 4 of our teams were ranked in the top 5 in the entire country. So to be able to win that award in the conference that we play in was really special.
Now, a conversation you and I had about Minnesota not getting into the national tournament, just talk about that and how disappointing it was after the year you guys had.
Yeah, it was extremely disappointing. I mean, we were going into that selection show pretty confident, just because of how the weekend turned out with all the other conference championships coming out the way that they did. And so we were really, really shocked, unfortunately, that we didn't make the tournament, and we just kind of felt like we deserved to be there. And just seeing on social media the reaction from not only like our fans, but fans of just all in general, tournament teams within the WCHA and even out east teams saying the same thing. It just made it a bit harder because it was really nice to hear that what we were feeling wasn't like we weren't feeling alone in that way, because other people thought that we deserved to be there. But it was also hard because it was like, how could the NCAA get that wrong? Especially I'm not going to go into details because at the end of the day, it's over. Congratulations to Wisconsin for winning. And we're gonna be ready next year. We're really fired up. We're really motivated to kind of prove wrong, or prove the people on the committee especially that we deserve to be in the tournament, that there shouldn't be a discussion about that. And we're just really looking forward to next year and being able to play in front of our fans. We have the best fans in the entire country, and we're super. So I'm just really excited for next year.
Now, obviously, next year the Olympics coming back. Team USA. Who is some of the top picks you would have to be on the men's and women's team if you were kind of one of the people to choose?
I would have to say, for the women's side, there's obviously, like, you have your Givens, you have like the Casey Bellamy's, you have Coyne and Knight and Decker. Like, those are obvious picks. Like, they're tremendous players, and they've obviously had success for numerous years. I think I might be biased because she's my teammate, but I think Grace Elminkle deserves to be on that roster. She's worked so hard. She's probably one of the hardest working people I know. And I also think Abby Rock is like super, super good. I played against her my freshman year. She was on Wisconsin, and I thought she should have won the Patty Kaz that year. But I think she's super solid. And then on the men's side, that's such a tough question because I don't really like pay attention too much to the men's side. I like, in terms of within USA Hockey, I would just more look at the NHL in general, and like I really pay attention to their nationalities as much. But obviously you have Patrick Kane, like he's going to be on that roster. You have Cale Makar. I think he's American. Is he American or is he Canadian? He's Canadian. He's like one of my favorite defensemen to watch. But I knew he went to UMass. That was so dumb of me. I like watched the World Juniors, but I don't really think any of them are gonna make the actual Olympic team, just because it'll be really fun to see who makes it, because of like the NHL being able to like let their players finally come back to the Olympics. Because 2018, it wasn't as fun to watch as I remember watching like back in 2014 with like TJ Oshie when he with the shootout goals against Russia, and then like especially 2010 was really fun to watch the men's team. Like Zach Parise, who plays on the Wild, like he scored with like 30 seconds left in the game to tie it up, and then of course like Sidney Crosby has to go and score the game-winning goal. Like, but as a U.S. fan, that was a really fun run that they had back in 2010. But I can't necessarily say for the men's side as much, sadly.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you've got guys like Patty Kane. I might be a little biased as a Leaf fan, but Austin Matthews,
Oh yeah, Austin Matthews is a given too.
In the Rocket with Sharp this year, like he's just absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll definitely click Cale Makar on the U.S. team, and I'm sure a few analysts will definitely put him on their team now for sure. But yeah, obviously that might not be one of the greatest moments.
I'm like embarrassed right now. I'm like, my face is so red. But he's like one of my favorite D to watch. I just assumed he was American just because like I don't feel like a lot of Canadians play like in the NCAA. Like a lot of them go that like OHL route and like kind of the profession if they're going to go and play in the NHL. But I know like Cale played at for the Minutemen, so and he's just really fun to watch. But too bad he's on Canada.
Yeah, he took a little bit of a different route. Obviously, for Canadians, of like the main goal up here, like you've got NCAA, or you can kind of go OHL. He's from out west, so obviously they have the Western Hockey League out there. So he's from Calgary, and he played in probably I'd give it the second highest junior A league out there. So obviously he had some success in the Alberta Junior Hockey League and then going to UMass, and obviously he's just an exceptional player now. But transitioning into the NHL, you and Audrey are both Minnesota Wild fans. We won't talk about the game against St. Louis the other day. We'll let that one go. But just talk about how excited you are to have hockey back in the state of hockey.
Yeah, I was watching that game and I was like, oh, okay, maybe they'll come back after 5-1 because they like got scored on like the fifth goal when there's like 15 minutes left in the second period. So I was like, it's possible. But then when it got to 6, I was like, yeah, I'm turning this off. I can't watch it anymore. I was getting way too frustrated. But I would say my favorite player, like any Minnesotan right now, is Kaprizov. Like he's so nasty. He makes such great, like he's a very good 200-foot player. He makes really good defensive plays, and obviously it's clear that he like cares as much about the D zone play as he does in the offensive zone. And some of the passes he makes, like his hockey IQ, I love. He just is a total playmaker, and then he can score as well. So I would say he's really, really fun to watch on the Wild right now. And also Kevin Fiala is really fun. He just scored a hat trick a few games ago. He's from Switzerland. So Minnesota Wild, they're like, they always get a rap because they choke in the playoffs or just don't make the playoffs. They usually lose in the first round if they do. But I think they're transitioning more to like Euros on their team. There's a lot more Euros on their team than they've ever had, I feel like, or at least that I can remember. So it's kind of exciting to see some of their draft picks or players that they've traded for like having success. And I would, it's just like exciting to have hockey back, and their jerseys, their like retro jerseys are so sick. Like I said to my mom, I want one. Like if you, I think that's like one of the other things that's hyping up around the state is like those jerseys because the North Star kind of touch to it.
Absolutely, and obviously up here in Canada, in Ontario right now, we're in a stay-at-home order, but like the whole year we haven't been able to go to any games, and obviously that's been tough with the amazing division of in Canada games. Seeing McDavid 10 times against your favorite teams, pretty unreal. But down there in the States, what's it kind of like? And are you guys kind of able to go to Minnesota games? And if not, how excited are you to be back in that arena, seeing your team play?
Yeah, so actually, the Wild were just allowed to have fans. So it was kind of funny because this just shows you how just crazy the state of hockey is. But the Minnesota High School State Tournament is at the Xcel Energy Center where the Minnesota Wild play. And for the boys, it's always like sold out, those games. So like it's funny because they'll usually have the most people attending a game more than any like NHL game that night, which is crazy because they're like high school boys. But the funny thing is like the boys and girls tournaments were allowed to have like fans. Like they got like I think 3,000 or like 2,000 people in the stadium, and they're allowed to have fans before the Minnesota Wild got to have fans. So I just think that shows Minnesota hockey in a nutshell and how important like the youth game is. And so it's really fun to now see fans for the Wild because a lot of the players that they have, at least like for example Kaprizov, like none of us have been able to see him in person yet. So like, and he hasn't experienced like the NHL with all these fans because he was in the KHL. And I just think it's really, really exciting. Like I'm looking forward to getting the rink of that 2,000 or so fans into the rink.
Now, obviously, when hockey comes back full time, who are some of the teams you're going to be excited to kind of go see play against Minnesota?
Oh, I'd say the Avs. I think they're so good. Like I said, Kale McCarr, and then you have McKinnon. You just have they're very deep. Like they have both. Like they just have talent on both sides of the ice. And they're just really hard to score against. And also like Comfer on their team. His sister I actually play with. I played with throughout the year. She plays at she was a senior this year at BU, so it's kind of cool kind of knowing someone on that team. In that sense, I don't really know him personally, but just having that connection at least. I think they're going to be a team that I'm really looking forward to watching. What other teams? I like obviously Tampa because they won the cup in the bubble. They're a fun team to watch. I really enjoyed watching them during the playoffs. And then also the Stars are really fun to watch too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, could be biased again, but the Leafs, obviously, like being at a Leaf game right now would be unbelievable. Yeah, we just got Foligno and David Reddick, so I mean, playoff run, here we come, hopefully, cup run, but.
Oh, I know. I know. I've been also like I know you hate to hear this, but like also the Oilers are just really fun to watch with their first line. Like they're just insane. Like the connection that they have. And I think that would be a line to watch offensively.
I mean, I watched them do nothing against the Leafs for 3 games in a row this year. So McDavid and Draisaitl showed up for that series clearly. So I mean, yeah, I know what you mean there. That looking at
Draisaitl's pretty good though.
Yeah,
like I think he gets underestimated just because he's with McDavid and it's McDavid. But like I think he deserves the hype too. But the Leafs obviously like. I gotta push back. Like they haven't had success in the playoffs though, so
yeah,
hopefully that'll change maybe this year. But
Yeah, hopefully, obviously, when names like Taylor Hall and Foligno were getting thrown around, Leaf fans are like, all right, like, we don't know. Like, I personally thought they were pushing for Taylor Hall, and obviously, him going to Boston, whatever, we don't have a chance to face him till the third round. But, I mean, obviously, with getting a guy like Foligno, who's one of the tougher guys, and that's something the Leafs haven't had last few years, and picking up Bogosian and Simmons this year has just been unbelievable. So obviously, hopefully playoffs can turn around and we get a few good rounds against some Canadian teams here. I know it's looking like Montreal right now, and I mean, don't want to say it's a cakewalk, but we'll see how tonight goes, I guess. So
Yeah, I actually I trained with Bogosian during the summer because he trains in Minnesota. And I actually would lift with him several days a week, and he's really it's really cool to work with him just because he's such a professional. He works so hard in the weight room, and clearly he's doing something right. And I might be biased because he's Canadian, but or no, I think he's not from Minnesota, at least that's what I know. But I think he might be from New York. I forget, but like I think it's kind of cool that he literally like moved to Minnesota just to train here. And I just think that shows like the caliber of training that Minnesota has to offer. Um, and then another connection to Minnesota is Foligno's brother, Marcus Foligno, plays on the Wild, and he's like gritty too. He'll get in the muck and get in some fights, but he has that scoring touch too. So it's kind of cool to see he kind of can do both.
absolutely, and obviously you training with Zach Bogosian. What's Bogo's biggest secret? Obviously, some Leaf fans probably want to know some inside scoop on him. So let's hear what you got on Bogosian.
I would say he works more on his mobility than like getting stronger because he's already freaking jacked. Like he's huge. Like he lifts so much, but like I would say it's kind of surprising how much he works on his mobility in the gym. Kind of with his with stretches and like even we do sprint work and he's really into that. So I would have to say that mobility.
Now, obviously, month left in the season. What are some of your predictions on kind of division winners, and who do you think are going to be some of the teams to kind of watch going into playoffs?
Obviously you have Colorado that's having a lot of success, and then you have Toronto, and then I would also have to say that Carolina's having a lot of success too. Like they're a solid team up and down. Um, but they also like haven't made it like insanely far in the past, like in recent years. So it'll just be interesting to see like how they do overall. So that like for the Central Division, I would say like the Hurricanes and then the Lightning, and then obviously how the Capitals and like the Islanders, Penguins, like that the East Division is pretty loaded. And you have like players like Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby just battling at it for game after game. And then the West Division, I would say, is a little bit more closer with the Avs and Golden Knights, like those two top teams. And then you have the Wild, who have shown that they can beat those teams this year, maybe not consistently. And then I would say the Leafs, like Jets, Oilers, I would say obviously you have like the Leafs with like only 10 losses this year, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know. I hope the Leafs will do well just because they have an American on their team with Austin Matthews. But I don't want to be rude, but you have that history against you, which is similar to the Wild. So
Yeah, hopefully Boston's out by the third round. Maybe have some success. Who knows? Because that's what it's been. Three times in the last 10 years they can't get past Boston. That's their
yeah.
struggle. So yeah.
So
But
the bubble, are they? I mean, I haven't really like paid attention necessarily, like very closely in terms of what the playoff format's going to be looking like. But are they planning on doing the not? They're probably not needing that bubble format,
no,
or
because
are they?
the the first two rounds are in division like rounds. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
right now, because it's top four from each division, so they play. They would be against, like, if playoffs say today they get Montreal first round. So obviously like they traveled to Montreal yesterday. So since they've been doing that the whole year, it's just travel, and then I'm not sure kind of what the NHL is playing for after that, because I know they go into another division. Like they'll play the division Boston's in the third round, and they might have a bubble at that. I'm not too sure, because obviously the American teams, there have been COVID issues, and the only one up here is Vancouver, where like their whole team just got in. That's kind of shutting down some teams up here, but I'm not entirely sure. Like I think they might do it if they need to, but at the same time, if you're doing in division, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Canada, we don't have, especially in Ontario, we don't have a lot of vaccines. So do we let other teams in? Like how are we going to do it? But yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's very. That's what I was saying, because it's a lot more strict up in Canada with regulations than in the U.S. at least. I mean, I've already got the first dosage of the vaccine, and I know some of my Canadian teammates on the U, their parents are kind of like mad because in the U.S. all of us, at least in Minnesota, over the age of 16, are able to get the vaccine now. I think that's like creating the ability for like the Minnesota Wild to have that number of fans, and I think it'll only increase as the season goes on.
yeah, up here it's kind of tough because like I know, and I think all the states down there, and there's places up in Canada, I think here too, that like just not in Ontario, that it's 2 weeks between like your doses, and in Canada right now it's 4 months. So like people are waiting, like people who've gotten theirs have to wait 4 months to get another shot, just because we don't have like the amount of doses that we need to vaccinate everyone. So obviously I'm sure they'll have a plan for NHL if they need to do it. Like you've only got two Ontario teams, and obviously the Ottawa Senators are just a dumpster fire again this year. So like they're not even gonna sniff playoffs. So like the government, all Doug Ford up here has to worry about is the Leafs. And I mean, I'm sure they can figure it out. They've only had, I think, one kind of close exposure. William Nylander's not playing right now because of a possible exposure to it. So they've been doing good. And obviously, Vancouver's the only team up in Canada that actually has had a number of cases. So obviously, Canada's handling it somehow. You only have 7 teams to play against. So, I mean, it's easier than traveling across the US. I know every team's kind of like they're close in proximity, all the teams they play and stuff, but obviously with the USU restrictions in some places, like look at Texas. I know there's not, like, besides Dallas, there's not an NHL team there, but like they're fully open, right? Like no masks, everyone's out in public. Like the Texas Rangers at the MLB played the Jays last week, and there was 40,000 people at the game, right? So like you kind of got to be
I
like,
know.
how are we managing that stuff? Yeah, up in Canada, it's kind of up in the air. I don't know.
No, it's pretty funny too how the Wild are in the West Division, because you look at like Minnesota is like not in the West, and so I think Minnesota is one of the worst travel schedules just because they're going to California and Arizona and Colorado and like Missouri, obviously with the Blues, but a lot of the California teams and Las Vegas, obviously, and that's 2-3 hour plane rides, whereas like the Ducks can travel up I forget what interstate, but it only takes about an hour unless the LA traffic's terrible, but that can happen too.
I mean, being a team from Minnesota, I take in the pandemic being able to go to LA 10 times a year. Like I guess you kind of gotta like manage it and stuff. But also, yeah, being out on that West Coast, it is the one like absolutely beautiful. I probably take that over going to Boston 10 times, honestly. Like the other side.
True.
But
True.
back in to kind of like NCAA here, Arian Frankel, top goaltender in the nation. Obviously, you guys probably didn't get a chance to play her this year. Not sure about last year, but just talk about how cool it is to see someone who has an amazing resume like her and what she can kind of do for the game for women's in college hockey.
Yeah, we haven't, like both my years, we haven't played Northeastern, but Erin's had a ton of success. Obviously, her numbers speak for themselves. And I know Erin personally through USA hockey stuff. Like we've been to camps together. We've been on a U22 team together. She went to Shattuck St. Mary's in Minnesota, and I was always playing like our elite league. So we'd end up playing Shattuck, and that was always fun. And she's had success at every level that she's been a part of, and she's a really nice girl too, which just makes it better. You want the girls who are a good teammate to win those types of awards, just because they're the face of women's hockey, right? And so having those type of character people is super important. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to do with the USA Hockey program. She obviously made the World Championships this year. It'll be interesting to see if she gets to play in some games, especially she's with Rigsby and Hensley, who are both Olympic goaltenders. So it'll be interesting to see if she gets some games. I hope she does, because she's a really good goalie.
And as you mentioned, there obviously the World Championships coming up for women. So how excited are you to kind of see? I believe, and I could be wrong, got canceled last year because it was supposed to be in Nova Scotia, and I know it's there again this year. So obviously, year off from it, how excited are you to see that tournament come back as a former player in USA Hockey?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see just the level of talent, because with the Euro teams especially, you don't get to see those teams very often. And so to see how their landscape and player pool has changed in the past like year or two, because those teams are getting better and better. And I think the last championship, Finland played against the US for the gold medal. And I think that's just a testament to how women's hockey is growing. The game is getting better and better. The teams are getting better and better. It's not always just going to be USA and Canada. It's going to be USA and Finland, or Canada and Finland, or Sweden versus Finland, or even Russia. So it's really cool to see those teams growing. And within the WCHA, we have a lot of European players and Canadian players. So it'll be really cool to see if any of them make their national teams. St. Cloud State has a ton of Euros from Czech Republic and Switzerland and Germany, and so it'll be really cool to see if they end up making their national teams.
Now, as you guys mentioned, your mom had coached at St. Cloud. So talk about watching the men's program this year and how amazing it was to see them get to a national championship final.
Yeah, obviously St. Cloud has had such a deep history with hockey. Herb Brooks was a huge proponent of them becoming Division I, and my uncle actually got to play under him at St. Cloud, which was really cool. And seeing my family like play on both the men's and women's teams is really, really cool. And having my mom actually start the women's program, being the first head coach there, is really special. And so when people ask me my like favorite men's team, just because I can't say my favorite women's team because my favorite women's team is the Gophers, but my favorite men's team probably is St. Cloud, just because of the history in our family. And my cousin-in-law, he actually was a Hobie Baker finalist a few years back at St. Cloud, and they were ranked like number 1 throughout the year, and they just couldn't do it. Like they lost in the regions, and I think they won one of the years they got to the Frozen Four, which is the only other year that they've been there. And so just seeing them move kind of up the ranks and getting to that national championship game is super cool. And I'm looking forward to like watching them in the future and seeing if they can get to that last spot and win that national championship that program has been like working towards for decades.
Now, transitioning back into the women's side, obviously you guys played Wisconsin a handful of times this year, who became the national champions of just, I call it a fluke goal that unfortunately hit a defenseman and went in from Daryl Watts. But just talk about being able to play against a team like Wisconsin, and did you guys kind of see that, okay, this team can go somewhere this year?
Yeah, we got to play Wisconsin 5 times. The first 2 times we played them were not good for our side. We just weren't our Gopher selves. And I think when they came to us, we definitely showed them that we can be in contention for that national championship. And we were able to show that. And I think they ended up coming out on top in that last game that we played against them. But I think their coaches would say that we were just as good in that game. We outshot them the last 3 games, but we just couldn't get it done. And I just think it shows like the depth of women's hockey is like you have a team that doesn't even make the national tournament but can compete with the winner. Just shows you the depth that that the women's game has. And credit to Wisconsin for getting it done. Like they have a deep roster both like defensively and offensively, and their goaltending was solid this year. And Kennedy Blair proved herself being a transfer. That's a big role to fit, and she did really well. So I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to play them and just kind of showcasing what our Gopher team has to offer this upcoming year.
Absolutely. And here, one thing that just kind of came up on my phone, and I'll pull it up again. The Minnesota Twins canceled their game against the Boston Red Sox today because of a shooting of a 20-year-old in Minneapolis yesterday. What have you kind of heard about that situation? What are your kind of thoughts on it, if any? I know it's a hard subject when you don't really know the full story, but obviously when the MLB team's getting canceled a game over it, it's got to be a big deal.
Yeah, I just found out this morning about the situation. It's just so sad. Our state has had a lot of trauma with police within the past year, especially with George Floyd incident and the trial going on right now. And for this to occur with a 20-year-old, with a kid who's about to turn 2 years old, it's heartbreaking. And my thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Obviously, we don't necessarily know the full story, and we'll learn more details as it comes. But clearly, there's a lot of issues going on, and our state needs to heal. And I think the Minnesota Twins to not be distracted by a sport, because life is bigger than sports, and I think that's just a testament to understanding that this moment shouldn't be about sports. It should be about the situation and what our country faces.
Absolutely. And well, it's been a long chat here, so I know you got class shortly, so we'll give you some time to kind of prepare for that. But thanks to Maddie Wethington for hopping on here. It was a blast, and we definitely will catch up with you and Audrey before your season start up again to see like how the summer and stuff is, and hopefully I'll be wearing my Leafs Cup merch by then, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see if on that one. I'll be rooting for the Leafs as my Canadian favorite team. But yeah, I really enjoyed our time here together, just going through all these different questions, and some of them made me laugh a lot too. So I hope everyone listening enjoyed it just as much as I did talking on it. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And actually, before we go, I'm trying to set it up, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but Arian might come on for a short talk. So what is something I should bring up? Is there a funny story or anything that you have with her that she's able to kind of talk about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have like a really funny story, to be honest. She's obviously a goalie, so she has a lot of quirks. So I'd probably ask about her quirks.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely will. So thanks again to Maddie for hopping on. It was a blast, and we'll catch up with you after the summer, and best of luck going into next year.
Thank you, Sam. I hope you have a great day.